Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to talk about some of my luxury beauty favorites from the month of July, and we're going to do a get ready with me and sort of catch up over the summer, what's been happening, what we've all been up to. But before we go any further, let's take a second to grab our iced coffee or a hot coffee. Let's take a sip and let's get started. So how has your summer been going? Hopefully very active, very full, and very blessed, I hope. I'm going to start off here with the new Plan de Paris beautiful quint here from Dior. I have the blue one here, and I know I just used it, but I'm going to show you today that I'm going to wear it in a very soft, subtle way. I'm really just going to go into the center shade here. I know it looks very overwhelming sometimes with all the blue, but I'm really just going to use the center shade. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to use another palette here. This is the Contour and Highlight palette. This is the shade 100. I'm going to use this first because this is going to be a little bit of eyeshadow, and I'm using a big fluffy brush here. It's a Makeup Forever brush. All the brushes that I'm using, they're listed down below, and this will be my crease shade here. It's pretty close to my skin tone, but I do like to use it for a very quick, simple makeup look. These products are made for travel friendly, but also multi-purpose. So yes, please tell me, how has your summer been going? It's already August. I cannot believe how fast everything is flying by. So it's August. Have your kids gone to summer camp? Have you gone to the beach, gone to the lake, gone fishing? Whatever it is that you like to do in the summer, let me know. Barbecues. Okay, what's the difference between a barbecue and a cookout specifically? I don't know if I've ever asked that, but I've heard the different terms and I don't know what the difference is. So please share what that means down below. This summer, it's been busy. I've gone to a lot of festivals. My favorite, Montreal has a lot of festivals. My favorite one is called the Fringe Festival, and it's basically a theater festival. And it's theater of all sizes and scales. Like, so you do have some productions that are a little bit more elaborate and more professional, and you have ones that are just like a one-person show. It's a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's always really fun. So that one's at the beginning of the summer, and that's my favorite one hands down. Using a BK Beauty 207, I'm just going to pick up this color here, just the lighter one, and I'll just buff that on the eyelid here. After that, I really enjoy the Jazz Festival, and even though it's called the Jazz Festival, you do get all sorts of music, not just jazz. I have to admit that jazz itself is not my favorite type of music, but it is there, and I just love Montreal in the summer. It really comes alive. I feel like Montreal in the summer is what makes living here worth it, because winter here is so harsh, it's so long and it's so cold, but just having those big open air festivals, you can just sort of walk around to different parts of the city, and there's always something. I plan certain things, like certain things I'll buy tickets for in advance and we'll, plan for it. But there's other stuff that you can literally just say, let's just go to X location and see what's happening. I love that spontaneity, that lightness. It doesn't have to be as like regimented and, strict. You can just sort of see what the day unfolds into. For the eyeliners for the month of July, I have two favorites. I have the one from the Paris Plan collection, this Pearly Cobalt, so pretty, but I don't really feel like wearing blue today. Shocking, I know. I want something a little bit more neutral. So I've been really loving this Victoria Beckham eyeliner here. I need to sharpen it, but it's this one called Cocoa, and it's this deep, rich cocoa espresso color here. So I'm just going to put some in the waterline up here, and I will also smudge a little bit on the top line, and then I will blend it out with the applicator. I'm thinking of getting a couple more colors because they have some beautiful colors for the fall. I saw one that's like a fig color, like a purple, and a green one too. I think those could be nice for fall. Taking my ring finger, I'm just going to smudge this out I really want this to be very soft. I want some definition, but not that much. I was using the sponge applicator on the other side, but I don't know. I want something else. I just want to blur it out. I like that sort of blurred eyeliner look here. Next up, I'm going to use a little flick. I've really been into winged liner this summer. I mean, all year really. This is the Signature de Chanel, the Chanel Signature. It's a felt tip liner. I think felt tip is my favorite type of winged liner. I find it to be the easiest. This one here is a black. So I just draw a thin line and then connect it to the liner that I smudged earlier. And both of them connect nicely. Even though this one here is black, it pairs well with the dark brown. I think the reason why a flicked liner has been so popular with me personally is because it creates a more makeup look without doing much, especially in the summer when it's been so hot. I don't know about you, but here in Montreal, it's been just like a permanent heat wave for like a month. And so doing a little flick just creates a more makeup look without actually feeling or looking like I'm putting that much on my face. So it's a nice little life hack here. And I put on a mascara. It's the Valentino one. It's not my favorite. It's fine. I mean, currently, I think the last mascara that I tried that I was like, this is the best, was the Givenchy, the new one. That one is spectacular. This one here, it's fine. I'm going into the Les Beige Water Fresh tint in Medium Plus. This is fantastic. I've worn this a lot all summer because it's just water really with a little bit of skin tint. It blurs, it hides a fraction of imperfections, but it's just really lightweight and just perfect for summer without looking like makeup or feeling cakey. So I just do like a couple pumps like this so I don't waste too much. And then I break it on the face like this, and then I apply. So a couple weeks ago, my husband and my friends threw me a surprise half birthday party. My birthday is in January. So mid-July, I got a surprise half birthday, and I was pretty surprised. No one expects a half birthday party, and the whole process, like, so sneaky. So I went over to my friend's house, and this was planned because she is an excellent baker, and I wanted to learn how to make a pie crust, like a real pie crust. I'd never learned how to make one, so I wanted to learn how to do that. And so I went over to her house and we made a pie. We made strawberry meringue, like strawberry pie with meringue. Delicious. It was so good. I made that. It was so good. So we made like tiny ones, and we made a big one, and we made a second big one. So there was a lot of pie made. And, for her to make a lot of pie or a lot of dessert isn't out of the ordinary because she's a baker. So she makes a lot of like big batches of stuff, and her partner eats a lot. So we were making like a ton of pies, and I was like, that makes sense. Like, it's not crazy. Well, as it turns out, there was a surprise brewing. And when I went over to her house, she told me to use the back door because she told me that the front of the house had just been mopped. So go into the back. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And we're in the kitchen, and like the back of the house is where the kitchen is, and there's a bathroom, and the front of the house, there's like the living room, dining room. And she told me, oh, we're repainting. There's a bunch of like ladders and paint everywhere. So like, don't go into the front room. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Well, that's where all the decorations were. And that's where the table was set up for the surprise party. And Dave, my husband, was supposed to come meet us after we made the pies. And then all four of us would have dinner, eat some pie, have a great time. And so we finished baking, and then there's a knock at the door, and it's Dave. And he's just sort of standing outside, and he's like waving me to come see him. So I'm like, okay. So I go outside and I turn around, and there's like 15 of my friends, and they're all yelling surprise, but I'm so confused because like my brain just couldn't compute. I was like, I thought the four of us were I guess we're all having dinner. Is there enough food? What's happening? It's also one of those weird moments where like all the friend groups combine. I'm like, how does this person what are these people doing together? Oh, it honestly took me like 15 minutes to come down from like the shock. I think I had this like, just so confused. It's so confusing. Having a surprise party is just so confusing, especially when all the friend groups meet together. And so it was all planned. It was all orchestrated. Everyone was supposed to come after the pie making. She had been texting everyone surreptitiously. I didn't catch on to anything. I was so confused. Like I had a solid like just 15 minutes of just like, what? Like it's a very shocking event to happen to the system. Everyone just be like, surprise. But it was great, fantastic, felt very loved. And then there's some photos of me looking a little bit weepy, like a good weepy, you know. It just feels nice to feel so well loved and supported and surrounded by people. And the pie was spectacular. It flew. I cut it once. I took one slice, like a small slice, and then it was gone. So good pie by me. For the concealer, I'm going into the Color Science. It's a concealer with lots of SPF. So I'm using this one here, and I'm using the shade Medium. This feels like a lot of concealer. I used a half pump. If you pump it all the way to the bottom, you get so much product. So I'm going to use half. I'm going to let it sit for a second, then I'll blend it out. This is the Prada Beauty concealer brush. It's fantastic. We also went to the Circus because there's the Circus Festival in Montreal, which is super fun. Like Montreal has, you know, Cirque du Soleil. That's from Montreal. We actually have multiple circus schools. You know that expression, like running away to join the circus? People actually do that in Montreal. And like in Montreal, circus culture is a thing. So when someone joins the circus, it's not weird. It's not like they ran away. It's like, oh yeah, they joined the circus. Of course they did. Like everyone knows someone who joined the circus. Like I know someone whose cousin joined the circus. Like it's just a thing. So we went to Totale, which is like the competitor for Cirque du Soleil. And we went to see this show called Sophie's Surprise Birthday Party. Fun fact, if you go to a circus show and the clowns or the people that are warming up the audience, they're trying to, you know, hype people up, the more you engage with them, the more likely you are to get voluntold to participate in the crowd. Just so you know. I did not, but I had a moment where I was like, I was really into it. But no, I did not join them because they often have someone, they'll like ask a member of the audience to just do something with them during the show. But yeah, it's fun. They obviously ask you if you do want to go through with it and, you know, join the circus for the evening. But yeah, just so you know, if you go to a circus show and they start getting really into the audience and doing like crowd work, the more into it you get, like the more you participate with them, the more likely you are to get voluntold on the stage. It was a lot of fun. It's one thing to see crazy stuff on Facebook or whatever, where you see these videos of people, you know, with the hoops and the ring and like the silk rope and all this stuff. It's one thing to see that on a little screen. It's another thing to see it like 5 meters away from you. It's one thing, it's crazy. There was one with rollerblades where they were on this tiny little platform and they were spinning around, climbing on each other, rollerblading. There was a guy with a bicycle and he like revved up a regular bicycle and then hopped onto the seat and was like doing handstands. It's crazy. Like, how do these people even, how, you know? I walk, I don't trip most of the time. That is the extent of my acrobatics. I suppose a lot of people get a start in gymnastics because a lot of it is tumbling, doing flips and things like that, and being extremely strong, especially like in your shoulders and your back, and like a lot of upper body strength. So I suppose if you have that sense of like fearlessness to tumble and flip and do all sorts of things like aerials, you probably start in gymnastics and then go into circus school. But some people just start off in circus school, and there's an application process and you have to qualify. Not everyone gets into circus school. It's like a whole thing. I'm going to add a bit of powder here. This is the Givenchy loose powder in shade number 3. I've really been using this all summer. I have dry, dehydrated skin, so I'm not always a powder person, but In the summer, it's nice to just mattify. I like how luminous I look. I just want this to stay a little bit longer and not be too shiny. This is technically a highlighting brush. It's the Sigma one. I like to use a more tapered brush for highlighter for powder because I don't necessarily want to powder my entire face. Just go into the T-zone here underneath and maybe just a little bit under the eyes like this just to set everything. And then I will also very gently go over the eyebrow because sometimes my eyebrows get very sweaty. So I just very gently go like this. Using a Refer 04, I'm going back into the contour palette here. And then this year, this summer, was my 10-year anniversary with my husband. So we've been together for a decade, which sounds absurd. I'm like, that's a long time. How did that happen? How fast was that? So it's 7 years married, but 10 years together. And when we got married, we just eloped. We didn't care for a big wedding. We wanted to buy a house instead of paying a lot of money for a wedding. So we eloped and then we went to Italy for 2 weeks. I highly recommend it. If you're considering marriage, I would say elope, personally. But because we didn't have like a big wedding, we decided, you know, we wanted to do something this year to just celebrate ourselves. And I was thinking of what are the things that I personally missed from having a wedding, and same with my husband, Dave. And it was, you know, like gathering the people that we love and the food. Food is very important. And so we decided to host an evening with chosen family and loved ones. And we had a great night. We were like, I think 16 or 18 people. We had a tasting menu. I had a beautiful dress. It was gorgeous. And it was a fantastic time. 10 out of 10. Would recommend eloping and then celebrating afterwards. I thought it was great. The whole night was fantastic because it was so us. Like, it was nice, but it was comfortable. I like nice things, but I really value comfort. I don't like stuffy and nice and fancy where you just feel out of place. I want to feel comfortable and casual at the same time. And that evening was that, and it was so magical. Speaking of magical, I'm going to use my Sicily blush here. This is not new, but it's new to me. This was an item that I had on my wish list, just sort of like in the periphery of my mind for years. It's the Sicily blush number 3. It's the coral. It's so pretty. I love this. I think that this has spoiled me for all luxury blushes because this is not an overspray. It goes down all the way. I can't tell you how many blushes I have from Chanel that look wrecked after a few weeks of use. I'm like, well, maybe I need to purchase more of these Sicily blushes. I've heard that there's an orange one, a pink one, and then also a bronzer one. So I'm using the Refer 05. Just going to get in there, may as well. It's a blush and highlighter duo. Oh, it's so pretty. I can see what the fuss is about, you know? There are those sort of cult status beauty items and you wonder to yourself, is it worth it? I think it's worth it. And I got it on sale, so, you know, no, I wasn't saving money. Well, I sort of saved money, sort of. I'm going to take my fluffy brush that I used before and just sort of go over top like this and just bring a little bit of that coral color here. This has highlighter in it as well, but I may go ahead and dip back into the contour palette that I use. I mean, the highlighter here is very soft. It's very pretty. I'll just add a little bit more blush. Have you heard of this thing called blush blindness? It's when you're adding blush and you sort of become blind to how much you're applying. Well, I don't know. I like a lot of blush. I'm going to use the same tapered brush I used earlier for the powder and just pick up a little bit of the highlighter from the contour palette. The highlighter here is a bit more intense, but it's not too much. I think it's pretty. Apparently my friends had a lot of fun coming up with pun names for my surprise party. It was Allie's Surprise party because we were making pies, or Allie's Happy birthday. Yes, very, very punny indeed. And one last little tidbit of my summer so far. We finally caught the bandit, the compost maniac, the compost menace. We caught him red-handed. I think his name is Little King Trashmouth from the compost, and red-handed, I don't know if it's a he or a she. It's a menace to society. Let me know if you have spotted the little compost bandit in your neighborhood. For the lipstick, I'm going into my favorite nude of the summer. It's the Prada Soft Matte. It's monochrome. It's a matte, but it's very soft. It's creamy, it's buttery, but it's a matte. It's like a silky, creamy, velvety powder matte. And this is the shade B101. It's nude, but a nudie pink. It's your lip, but better. And there we have it. This is the finished look. It's not that many products. I'm glad I was able to use my favorites from the month of July to create this look. It's fresh, it's light. As always, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. I think that this is a look that could be easily reproduced at home in a shorter amount of time if you're not, chatting with a friend and catching up with what you've been up to all summer. Sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you have been up to. I would love to hear from you. Would love to hear what you've been up to for the past month. And I think that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.